The relationships between Iran, the United States, and Israel are among the most consequential in global geopolitics. This conflict is rooted in decades of historical rivalry, ideological clashes, nuclear tensions, and regional power struggles. More recently, domestic uprisings inside Iran have added to the complexity. In early 2026, these long-standing tensions exploded. Direct military conflict erupted, raising fears of wider war. This video explains why this happened, what unfolded, and its global meaning. After the 1979 Iranian Revolution, Iran's secular monarchy was overthrown and replaced by an Islamic Republic. This new system, under Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, adopted a staunchly anti-American and anti-Israeli stance. It severed ties, framing both states as adversaries of Iranian sovereignty and regional stability. For decades, the conflict was indirect. Iran supported proxy groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. These groups, along with other militants, opposed Israeli and Western influence in the region. The USA, as Israel's principal ally, responded with sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and occasional military action. These actions were often against Iranian interests, especially concerning Iran's nuclear program. This created a triangular rivalry. Iran seeks regional influence and challenges Western and Israeli power. Israel sees Iran's ambitions and support for armed groups as existential threats. The USA pursues containment, sanctions, and sometimes force to prevent Iranian nuclear armament and curb its regional influence. Conditions inside Iran deteriorated sharply in late 2025. Widespread protests broke out over economic hardship, political repression, and public resentment toward the entrenched clerical regime fueled these demonstrations. These became the largest nationwide demonstrations since the 1979 revolution, met with brutal crackdowns by security forces. Tens of thousands of protesters were killed during the suppression. Mass arrests and state violence deepened domestic anger. In early 2026, amidst this internal turmoil, tensions with the outside world escalated further. The United States and Israel, citing Iran's nuclear ambitions and support for militant networks, launched coordinated airstrikes. These strikes, according to multiple reports, killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and numerous senior officials. The operation, referred to by some as Operation Epic Fury, involved hundreds of missiles and airstrikes. It targeted Iran's military, intelligence, and government infrastructure, including strikes near Tehran. Key elements included hits on security headquarters linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps IRGC, retaliatory strikes by Iran against US and Israeli positions in the Middle East followed. These actions triggered celebrations from some Iranian dissidents and diaspora communities. At the same time, pro-government rallies and anti-war protests took place internationally. Several interconnected causes led to the crisis. First, nuclear and security tensions. Iran's nuclear program has been a point of contention for decades. The US withdrew from the 2015 nuclear deal in 2018. This led Iran to resume and accelerate enrichment, heightening fears in Israel and Washington of nuclear weapons capabilities. Second, regional proxy conflicts. Iran's support for Hezbollah, Hamas, and other groups made it a strategic adversary. This proxy conflict often led to violence in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen, challenging Israel. Third, domestic unrest. Massive protests in Iran exposed public dissatisfaction with authoritarian rule and economic hardship. External actors saw an opening to leverage that unrest, framing regime change as aligned with Iranian public interest. Fourth, breakdown of diplomacy, failed negotiations over nuclear issues, and distrust between Tehran and Washington. Hardline policies of leaders on all sides eliminated avenues for peaceful resolution. The conflict so far has resulted in a significant humanitarian toll. Casualties include military personnel and significant civilian deaths due to strikes and reprisals. The disruption to cities like Tehran has been severe. Next, regional escalation. Iran's retaliatory strikes have hit US and Israeli bases in the region, risking broader confrontation. This involves states across the Middle East. Then, political uncertainty in Iran. The death of Khamenei has created a leadership vacuum. Succession is unclear, and the regime's stability is uncertain. It balances internal opposition with external threats. Finally, global reactions. Worldwide protests for and against the strikes reflect deep divisions. Some see the operation as necessary to deter threats. Others condemn it as a legal escalation. Broader impacts: global economy. Iran remains among the top oil producers. Disruption to its oil infrastructure and regional instability. This could send oil prices sharply up and disrupt markets worldwide. Next, geopolitical shifts. The conflict could reshape alliances in the Middle East. Some Gulf states might distance themselves from US policy. Others may pursue neutrality or their own security pacts. Then, risk of wider war. There's a real risk that fighting spreads through proxy networks or draws in additional states, making the conflict more prolonged and destructive. Finally, domestic Iranian politics. Whether protests resume or the regime consolidates power in a new form will define Iran's future. A government change could follow peacefully or through further violence. Conclusion. What's next? The Iran-US-Israel conflict is at a critical inflection point. It reflects decades of unresolved hostility, shifting power dynamics, and complex domestic pressures. Its outcomes will shape Middle Eastern geopolitics for years, affecting global security, energy markets, and international law. Only time will tell how this crisis ends. But one certainty remains: the world is watching a pivotal chapter in Middle Eastern history unfold.